Hi everyone! In this video I will quickly go through a literature search process. Some of you may already be very familiar with how the process goes, so for you that's more of a review. But perhaps those of you who are coming back to school after a while or are just beginning your academic journeys will benefit more from this video. So when we have a question, just any question, our first reaction is often to Google it, or to ask Siri, or use whatever it is that our preferred way of tapping the internet. However, that's not what you want to do when you have a research question or a research topic that you want to explore. Your first stop when it comes to research is the library website. And here there are a few things you can do. First, you can use quick search and just type in a couple of keywords. Your quick search bar is right here, and you see I've typed in immigrant health already. I'm going to use that as an example because those keywords are what I search for most often. Depending on your topic, yours are of course going to be different. So I click search and I get some results. Now let's see what I got. I got an encyclopedia of women's health, then some other book about organizing for immigrant health care, and what looks like a research report to me. I'm not sure what type of source this is. And then an entire journal, which I could look through, but that would take a while. And then a handbook of immigrant health. Another research report. So a bunch of sources that may not necessarily work. In this class, I'm assigning you to look specifically for peer-reviewed journal articles, and I'm doing that because they're short. You do not have time to read an entire book or 5, but you can realistically read 5 peer-reviewed journal articles. So if I only want to search for a specific type of source, such as an academic journal article, I can use advanced search options right here in the library website. So here on the left hand side, I can select to show only peer-reviewed journals, and that's still going to give me over 60,000 hits. So we're not going to stop right there. So I'm selecting peer-reviewed journals. And that's already better. You see I'm getting a hit for an article about segmented assimilation and neighborhood disadvantage in Hispanic immigrant health that was published in Social Science and Medicine. That's good. That looks like it's more up my alley. However, articles are not the only thing that you're going to find in a peer-reviewed journal. You will find reviews, you will find editorials occasionally, so it might be useful to restrict your search further by selecting a resource type. So you just want the articles, you don't want reviews, you don't want reference entries, whatever those are, you just want articles. That still gives you 56,000 hits, which is still a lot, but that's better than what we had before. Furthermore, you can restrict by subject. So you can select public health, you can select United States if you're only interested in United States. You can choose more options and see what other subject selection options you have, and maybe some of them will work for you. I am not choosing that because my interests are more broad in this particular case. If you are looking for a particular author, you can select that as well, but what I do want to show you is the creation date. So ideally you want to be looking for articles that are relatively recent. There are going to be some exceptions from that rule, but generally you don't want stuff that was published 50 years ago. Unless it's very specific context. So I will restrict my search by creation date right here. And let's say I want articles that were published in this century, so since the year 2000 to now. And I'm refining my search. Now I'm down to 50,000 results. And I can restrict my search further using a variety of criteria, or I can start looking through these articles. So something I can do to try to get some more specific results is to use a research database. So if I go back to the library homepage, and I'll do that just by clicking back to make sure I ended up where I started. Right here. Alright, so you can click on the research database right here. And you can browse databases by subject, which that's going to be useful because I'm a sociologist, so I do study health, but I want, social aspects of health and maybe public health journals. I do not really want biology articles, right? Because I don't understand them. I have not studied biology in a very long time, and I have only a very basic idea of how it works. So I really don't want to read about microorganisms that may cause disease in certain immigrant populations. So I can select a subject to find a database within. So I'm not selecting biology, I am selecting social sciences, because that's what I do. So from here you can pick a database by name, or you can use a subject guide to help restrict your search further. If you scroll through these, you will see that there is a bunch of databases. It's still a lot. Some are pretty specific, like there is a database for American Indian histories and cultures. So if that's what you want to study, that's the database for you. And then there are some that are more general, like Academic Search Premier, and that's just a collection of journals in a range of subjects, including biology, chemistry, engineering, and so on and so forth. And then you'll have something like an annual reviews database, which is not topic specific, but it's specific as far as the type of source goes. So this database will only contain annual reviews, which is not an article that uses evidence per se, but rather a review of sort of recent literature on the topic. So if you are looking for something like that, annual reviews database is the way to go. For this example, let's just go with Academic Search Premier, since this is the first one, and it's also a good one since it encompasses a lot of different sources of information. So if I click on that, I can again do quick search right here in the quick search bar, or I can use these advanced search options. I can restrict by date, I can restrict by image quick view types, I can restrict by number of pages. So basically there are all sorts of options, and they're going to be different for different databases depending on which one you are using. Another place I like to do my literature search is in Google Scholar, which you can get by typing in scholar.google.com. All of you are probably using it already. Some of you may not be using it, so if you don't, you should start. It's great. Here you can search for articles using this quick search again, and then refine your criteria. So I am going to type in my keywords, which is immigrant health, and I get a lot of hits. And here I can say that I don't want to include patents, and I don't want to include citations, and I want to restrict again by publication year. So let's say I only want stuff that's been published after 2000. And here I am. And these search results are going to be ordered differently than what we will get from the library website, because the search algorithms are different. So it is definitely worth looking at both the library search and the Google Scholar search, because you will just get different hits on your first few pages, and let's be honest, the first few pages is what we are most likely to look at. So a cool thing about Google Scholar is that it also gives you these handy links to download a PDF of an article. So what happens is that the search engine looks for the PDF that's available in public access, and if it finds one, it gives you an option to download it, which is awesome. However, not all articles are available in public access like that. So for example, this one right here, Health Status and Canada's Immigrant Population from Social Science and Medicine, does not have a PDF link. Let's say this is exactly an article I was looking for. Or, it worked for my topic. It seems like it would work for my topic. I can open it, and I can read the abstract, and after reading the abstract I realize that this is indeed the article I need. But look at this. Looks like it is behind a paywall. It's offering me to purchase it for $35.95, which is way too much money, which is not the kind of money I have to spend on every single article. Luckily, I don't have to. So if I encounter an article like that in my Google search, what I will usually do is copy and paste the article title into the library search engine. So I will Control-C, and I'll go back to my library search, and I will just paste that into the quick search. And I will click on search. And here it is, Health Status and Canada's Immigrant Population, full text available, which means I can get it for free as a student and as an employee at the University of Utah. And you should be able to get it for free as well as a student. So if you encounter a paper that seems relevant but requires you to pay money to read it, don't pay money to read it. Look for it in the library search. There will be cases when the library does not have the paper you want. Let's say you found something that looks really interesting and really relevant on Google Scholar, but when you try to search for it in the library, you can't find it. And that simply means that the library does not have a contract with that publisher. And this will not happen very often, but if your topic is sort of very new or under-researched, or alternatively very old and nobody's touched on it in a while, that might be the case. For example, among other things, I study immigrants from the former Soviet Union, and not very many other scholars do. So there are very few publications available on that particular population, and also those publications are often in sort of obscure journals that I cannot find, right? That I can't get at without paying. However, there's still a solution for that. I'm hoping this doesn't happen to you in this class, but there is a way. So if I go back on the library website, I can use something called the interlibrary loan. Right here under quick links, you will see interlibrary loan, and let me open that in the new tab. So what this is a way for you to request an article or a book that our library does not have, but another library elsewhere does have. So our library can talk to that other library and get you the materials that you need. And they say that in most instances books are available within 1 to 2 weeks, and electronic access to articles can be provided within 24 to 48 hours. I have used this a few times. I have gotten my articles usually the same day. Now, of course, it is not guaranteed. Sometimes it will take them 48 hours, and sometimes I imagine it takes them longer. So I do hope you don't have to resort to interlibrary loan for this class, because you don't have a ton of time to wait around for the articles to be delivered to you. But in the future, if you do encounter something that you really want to read and it's behind a paywall and their library does not have it, interlibrary loan is the way to go. And then the last thing I want to mention here is that you can consult with the library staff, and the library staff, they're great. They will help you with a variety of issues that you can encounter in your literature search. Maybe you don't even know where to start your search, or maybe you are not sure if the sources you have found are the right kind of sources, if they are usable. So with all those questions, you can just ask the library. Right here on the right hand side, it has this little square. It says ask the library. So do that if you have questions about literature search. You can live chat with them when the library is open. You can email. You can come talk to them in person. You can schedule a research consultation, which, according to them, will allow you to research like a boss. So if you encounter any issues in your literature search, do reach out to them, even if it seems like your questions are, silly. Sometimes students are afraid to ask stupid questions because they don't want to seem stupid. Well, don't be afraid, because the library staff are fantastic and they are helpful, and they do want to help you do your best and learn to research. So don't hesitate to contact them. Of course, don't hesitate to contact me, but there is just one of me, and there is a lot of you, and I do try to sort of respond to your questions as quickly as I can, but maybe getting a second opinion or maybe reaching out to the library staff could be quicker. So on this note, I am going to end this video. I hope you can research like a boss, every one of you, and please let me or your TA know if you have any questions.